Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be talking about one of the ways to optimize the performance of your Java application on OpenVMS without changing your application code. If your application spends a considerable amount of time monitoring directories for the existence of files or monitors the status of a set of files continuously using any of the methods such as the ones shown here, then you might find this optimization useful. A typical code sequence is as shown here. These file methods end up calling stat, and when you have a number of these calls repeatedly being used in your program to monitor the status of a same file or the same set of files, then it can cause a considerable performance overhead. So stat calls are roughly 20 to 50 times slower on OpenVMS than on Unix. So one way to reduce the number of calls to the stat is by using a logical Java $caching interval. You can define this logical to a time interval in seconds. When you do this, the information gathered by stat is cached for the specified interval, and after the interval expires, the data in it is invalidated and is considered stale. So this logical is not enabled by default. You can enable it by setting it to any positive non-zero value. So when you define this logical for the above code sequence, the second call file.is directory, the data is taken from the cache, and the stat is not called again for this. Now, after defining this logical, the data in this cache is invalidated either after the caching interval expires or the current application does some explicit action which causes the data in the cache to be considered as invalid, such as it the file which was being monitored is opened for something other than read, or the file monitored file or directory is destroyed. So the main drawback of using this logical is that if another application, another process copies a file into the monitored set without the knowledge of the current application, or does something on the monitored set of files without the current application's knowledge, then JRE will not come to know about it until the cache is invalidated for one of the any of the reasons which I mentioned now. I will now use a small program to demonstrate the differences in execution times with and without using the logical. So I have a machine running the OpenVMS v8.4, and I have the Java 1.66 version installed. So I'll run the program first without defining the logical. This is a small program which reads a file jboss.dat and tests the properties of the file in a loop continuously. I'll now compile the file. And run it. Time taken is 11 seconds. I will now define the logical to 60 seconds and run it again. You can see that the time taken is almost half of the runtime of the program without defining the logical. Please keep in mind that the execution times can vary based on the application. If your application is a file-intensive one and is something which keeps monitoring files continuously, like a web server which makes hundreds of calls per second to monitor a set of files, then you may see a dramatic performance improvement. This concludes my demo.